Alright, welcome back guys. JC here, and I finally got my hands on a Turnigy Evolution transmitter. I will go ahead and say that this is not my full review. This is my day one review. I can't stand it when people just take this out the box and give you a review on it because, yeah, they can show you around, but they haven't tested it. They haven't tested with the test of time, which is the biggest test. 2 months from now, it could be broken. So I will be doing a full review later on, but for right now, I'll show you what I've found out. First, let's talk about price. A month ago, these were sold out everywhere, in like every country. I was even going to websites where I couldn't even understand the language, but I did understand sold out. And the same thing goes for this receiver that comes with it. Could not find a single one. But they are back in stock. It's showing up in many different places. I originally purchased one of these from eBay for $120 until they refunded my money because they were actually sold out. But I'm actually glad they did that because now that these are back in stock at Hobby King, I picked this one up for $68. It comes with one of these TGY IA6C receivers, which so far I think are great. I've tested one of them out. But I purchased 3 additional ones as well. So I got the transmitter and 4 receivers, all for about $100 even, and that's with shipping. Whenever you purchase it, it comes in a box like this. You get the transmitter, 1 receiver, which is already bound, by the way. You don't have to bind the one that comes with it, though you do have to bind the ones that you purchase additionally. The receiver comes with a 3-wire or 4-wire servo cable, as well as a 2-wire, I believe this is a 1.0 millimeter spacing JST connector to a, I want to say this is a 2 millimeter JST connector, female. Anyway, this is used to get voltage in your telemetry. The receiver also comes with this jumper wire and a pin that you use to press the update button, or failsafe as we normally like to call it. Definitely keep a hold of this because whenever you purchase additional receivers, they don't come with this. And you also get a charger cable that is a micro USB to USB. You don't have to use this one, you can use any one you want. There's nothing special about it. I actually have a 6-foot one that I use for everything else, so I'll just use that. It also comes with this protective cover. This is not an additional expense or anything like that. It comes just like this, and it's easy to remove. You just pull it off, and there you go. As far as weight, let's just compare it to the Tranus. I've got a battery in it and everything, so this is full weight. Okay, 835 grams. For the Evolution, we are looking at about 340 grams, so less than half the weight of a Tranus. As far as switches, you technically get 4. One here, you get a dial here, or I guess you could call it a potentiometer, and then you have 2 on the back. By default, these are on different auxiliary channels according to the transmitter, but once you go into beta flight or clean flight, they're actually on the same auxiliary channel. I'll have separate videos on how to set that up and put them on different auxiliary channels. I'm not going to go into detail right now. Just look in the description below for my Evolution playlist that I'll be making, and you will find plenty of other videos. As far as the quality of the switches, I watched a review, and I don't even know why they were talking about this, but yep, they're switches, and they're there, and they work. They feel no different from the Tranus switches, so take it for what it's worth. They're switches. As far as the gimbals, actually, let me back up. Just the entire feel of this thing. I will say that, and this is just me, I personally love this thing. It just feels very natural, but this is because I am a thumber and also a very long time video game player. Also, these switches on the rear, you can easily flip them without having to readjust your hands or anything like that. It's very natural. If you are a pincher, normally I would say, yeah, be aware of this. This probably won't be that great, but in this case, I'm going to say if you are a pincher, you probably want to stay far away from this thing. The reason I say that is, for one, it feels extremely unnatural and uncomfortable. Like I'm doing this with my fingers just to hold it. Not only that, but the only parts of my hands contacting the transmitter is right here. So this is it's not touching anything. But the biggest problem is whenever you go to full throttle or full pitch, like my fingers are hitting. They're hitting up here. And I can't actually go full throttle or full pitch because my fingers are in the way. Just to give you an idea, you're talking about 6 millimeters in between the stick and the transmitter itself. So unless you have some unnaturally skinny fingers that are less than 6 millimeters wide, your fingers are going to hit. That is, unless you readjust your hands and pinch all the way up here. I don't know. I'm not a pincher, so I'm just letting you be aware of these things. As far as thumbing, this thing is awesome. For the gimbals, I would say they are pretty high quality. I'm very impressed. The right side feels terrific right out the box. Now, I'm pretty sure you can take this apart, and I would assume there are adjustment springs on the rear, like on most other transmitters. This is just me. Personally, I like my sticks to be really loose, so I may loosen this up a little bit. But even if I don't, right out the box, it feels great. For the left side, the yaw feels just like the right, but the throttle, I don't know if you can hear this. It's kind of tough. Like it's definitely a different feel from this side. There's something in there making it feel, it's almost catching it. I really can't describe it that well, but I'm going to take it apart anyway, see what I can do about adjusting the springs, and if not, I'm actually just, I can't describe this feel, but it feels like it needs oil on it, so I may find a place to place some motor oil on it or something. Whenever you power this on, you have to have the switches to the rear or towards you. This switch needs to be up and throttle has to be down. Otherwise, it's going to constantly beep and give you this warning message. This is touchscreen, and you can also scroll with it. You get 3 different menus. This menu here, well, first, this little battery meter, this shows you the battery status of the transmitter itself. The RX, there we go. The RX is basically your voltage in your telemetry, should you decide to wire this into your receiver. I'm not crazy about it because it doesn't give you an actual voltage in a decimal. It just gives you this meter. So you have to judge by the meter where your it really doesn't matter because I use goggles. Most of us, are flying with FPV setup, so you can't see this anyway, so it's not going to matter. You can click on that and you can adjust your warnings for the low battery of the transmitter, or the same for your multi-rotor. This is your voltage in the telemetry. You can click on this X, and if I were to have my receiver turned on right now and this wire connected to it, then it's going to give you an option to choose what size LiPo battery you are using, either 2S, 3S, 4S, so on and so on. So you just pick what cell battery you have, and then it just sets everything up for you. But you can still adjust it by clicking on these and adjusting it that way. Once your LiPo battery falls into the low voltage category, then it's going to beep at you and your sticks are going to flash red. This menu, you can just set up a timer. I really haven't messed with it. Apparently you can set up timers on switches. I know I'll never use this. And then this menu, this is where you set everything else up. Your channel endpoints, which is great. Transmitters that you can't adjust that, I don't even mess with, so I'm glad that they have that in here. But I will say that with this transmitter, it's capable of PPM, S-Bus, and I-Bus. I-Bus is not written on the case, but you would just wire it into the same S-Bus pin. Like I keep saying, I'll have a separate video on this. But one thing I did notice is if you do use it in S-Bus, you will have to calibrate channel endpoints, where if you use I-Bus, there is no channel endpoint calibration. It's going to be perfectly calibrated from 1000 to 2000. Now it might be slightly off. Mine was off for just my my roll channel, and I'll show you how to fix that in a second. But you can also set up your models and failsafe. I would just use Betaflight for that. You can bind your receiver. As far as the LEDs, right out the box, these flash colors, so you can set it up like this, and they will change colors as you move your throttle and pitch. Or you can turn this off and choose the color that you want individually. So you can set these up to literally have any color you want by moving all three bars in any combination. Or you can turn them all the way off and you will have no colors. And that's how I like mine. And there's many different things, you know, firmware update, all the basic stuff. There is a fourth hidden menu. If you turn it off, move your sticks to the bottom and to the left, and then power it on, then you will get this menu. This is where you can actually calibrate your sticks. This is one thing I did have to do. Like I said, you set this up on I-Bus, the channel endpoints are perfectly calibrated, except my roll stick was slightly off. In that case, you would just click here and then just move these to the maximum endpoints on all axes. Just do that a couple times and then you're done. Hit the back arrow and then it saves it. So that's how you recalibrate your sticks. And there's a few other settings you can do here, nothing too interesting. And that's basically it, guys. So my final thoughts on day one. Overall, I really like it. In fact, I like it so much I would be willing to spend even more than $68. In fact, I would probably say I'm willing to spend Tyrannus level money on this. I would spend $200 for this. I'm not even joking. And that's just because I feel like I do a lot of freestyle flying, and I know I would be much better with this transmitter. So it's worth it, the extra money to me. If it, you know, it did cost extra money, but it doesn't. It's only $68, so it's a win-win. I know a lot of guys complain that you can only have 5 different models, and yeah, a lot of us have more than 5 multirotors. But the thing is, you can actually have multiple models on every model. There's a workaround, and I'll show it to you in a different video. But you can have unlimited models on this. The only time you would actually use a different model is if there is something different that you're setting up in the transmitter itself. But for me and all of my multirotors, there really is no difference as far as my Tyrannus settings, but also, you know, the transmitter settings. All the differences of my multirotors are made in Betaflight and on my flight controllers. So I can have all my multirotors on one setting in this. So that doesn't bother me none. As far as the telemetry deal, the only telemetry it has is voltage, and voltage even sucks in this. I don't care about that because I use on-screen displays. Yeah, I love telemetry. I did love telemetry in my Tyrannus, but that's back when on-screen displays were more expensive. They were more complicated to set up, bigger, bulkier, and they just kind of sucked overall. You really didn't get that much, and they didn't work that well. Nowadays, on-screen displays are everywhere, and they're terrific. Matter of fact, I'm in love with Betaflight's on-screen display feature and using the Omnibus flight controllers and getting my OSD through there. And ever since then, I stopped using telemetry in my Tyrannus. So I knew right away, you know, people were complaining about telemetry, but I was like, I don't use it anyway, so what's the big deal? I'm just going to use an on-screen display. So that doesn't bother me. Some people might complain about the gimbals. I've seen some reviews where they complain about it, but I mean, if you ask me, they feel just like the Tyrannus gimbals. You know, except for the throttle on this. but like I said, I'm sure you can adjust it. I'm not picky. I'm really not a picky guy, so you might be. I don't know. Some guys were complaining about the lack of switches, but really in a racing or freestyling multi-rotor, how many switches do you need? Yeah, on my large GPS builds where I have a million different switches, I'm not going to use this. I'm still going to use my Tyrannus for that. But for this, freestyling and racing, really I only use one switch, and that's arm. That's it. Same thing goes for range. I've seen some range tests done, which I do plan on doing my own range test with a variety of these receivers, not just this one, but a couple more that's compatible with this, and a bunch of FreeSky receivers, but that's not the point. Point is, people were complaining about range. This will get like 80% of the range of a FreeSky receiver, which is a very long ways. But once again, if you were racing or freestyle flying, how much range do you really need? So once again, I don't see that as a problem. And that pretty much does it. So overall, I will recommend this transmitter, except if you are a pincher, you might want to think twice, maybe borrow one from a friend before you purchase one. And if you're someone who is switch crazy, then you may not want to look into this either. For everyone else, highly recommend it. That's going to do it, guys. Give me a like if you enjoyed this. Look in the description below for my Evolution playlist that I will be creating starting right now. And I will see you again soon.